accidentally do that, jumped into the theory and on-the-ground work of restorative land practice. After the student presentations, I'm going to give a brief update on some big fundraising that we're doing here at Workday these days. Then we'll have food and drink and a party in the other room. There's a silent auction. So I'm excited that we're having a party. We can all get together. Please do mind the wildlife in this room. It's very dangerous. Bison and bear. In all seriousness, these are part of the Montana Natural History Center collection, and we just want to be really respectful. Don't ride any of the animals. Please don't touch any of them. They have preservatives and chemicals. On a similar note, they've asked us not to have any drinks or food in this space. So we're going to keep drinks and food on that side of the tables in the space. Let's see, I had some other housekeeping. Bathrooms are located in the far side of the room over there. They're gender inclusive, so you're welcome to use either one. There's some single stalls and one double stall bathroom over there. Please keep your phones silent during our student presentations. If you need to take a call, you can step outside. And I'm going to turn it over, no further ado, to our environmental ethics expert.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm really where the place, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. So to begin, I know I'm going to talk about where we went. Here's just like a little map of Western Montana, and showing where we went. We started out of here in Missoula, it's right at the bottom. I don't like you really see it, but we went up to the Ocean Wilderness. And then we kind of showed up and which I'm actually on here. And then we spent some time in the National Park, where it's in nature. And after that, really rad, which is sort of down to the side, and then we're going down to escape the wilderness. That's where we spent a bunch of days. Cool. So after our first some days in March, we had the opportunity to stay at the beginning at Aspen Lake Campground. Having our first showers and first class before this 11 days. Very exciting. But more importantly, we got to meet one there, a member of the Black Nation and a professor of Black Community College. Our favorite part of the meeting with Helen was when she took us for her Buffalo Heaven, where she owns nearly 400 acres of prairie and hopes to reintroduce buffalo to the land. We helped build a cattle fence on her property with her sons, so that there could be a designated cattle section for safety cows, and for the buffalo she hopes to reintroduce. One of the things that was talked about was how important it is to tell stories with the face and really strengthen our relationship with people land. She also took us together how important it is for us to be connected to the world around us, especially in a world that is changing so quickly. The land is reclamation and has sovereignty over now is so vastly different from their traditional land that was so really stolen from them in the 19th century. And as a class, we've become so aware of how intense human-driven climate change has impacted religious relations with the land. Throughout this course, many of us have gained an understanding that future land management practices must have an emphasis on partnership and collaboration, which was also emphasized by Helen and several of our other guest speakers. We think that in order to move forward with the most productive land management, we should prioritize uplifting Indigenous voices that have so often been excluded from the discussion. A significant takeaway for all of us from our course has been that including all voices in the movement for climate action is requisite in ensuring reciprocity.
Alright, so backtracking a little bit, our first trip was simply backpack into the Bob Marshall. It's kind of a little bit of a problem. But that's what we got it. On the left, it's just a picture of us right before we headed out next to Bob. We hiked about 40 miles, on the loop, and we found a lot of wildness. And so that picture at the top is, a little stream we found in the middle of a very hot and hard. So one of our, at this campsite, which is right down here, so some of the pictures are kind of, we noticed, we felt really extreme heat waves, it was getting dark at night, so it was supposed to be a little cooler, we got a heat wave, we saw ash in the air, and, we noticed that there were forest fires from far north, past Sealy and into Washington. And we read an article from Montana Wilderness Association. Montana is getting hotter and drier in the coming years due to climate change. There are more forest fires, and these forest fires are devastating a lot of our ecosystems. Forest fires are pretty common in Montana because it's so hot and dry already. But in the northern United States, which include Montana, the average number of large fires burning annually on Forest Service land, to include the wilderness areas like the Grand Marshal, has tripled. And in addition to that, once we got to the top of the ridge on our third or fourth day in Lavard, we noticed that there's a snowpack that we were supposed to need trekking poles to go across. Last time Kirsten was there, they needed trekking poles to get across the snowpack, and it was so small that we didn't even need that. It was just like barely the size of like this room, and that's because climate change and warming. And this is really important because glaciers are really important for alpine ecosystems. A lot of animals and people and plants are dependent on mountain snowpacks for water supply, and peak flows are 15 to 20 days earlier in the season, which we also learned from our Montana Wilderness Association article. So just both of these things we noticed while Bob showed us that climate change is happening, and it's happening on landscapes that we hold really near and dear.
Okay, so we were in Nevada for a total of 7 days, so a lot happened. On this slide, there's us bathing in the stream again, and then this is just a goofy photo we took on the last day. And what I'll be talking about is this right here, which is the white bark pine. So we saw these a fair amount in the bog, but unfortunately a lot of the ones we saw were not doing so well. And so in one of the first readings we had at the bog was a piece by Emma Maris on the extinction of white bark pine. The kinds are being threatened by visitor pine rust and bark beetles. We argued about the ethics behind potentially intervening and creating blister-resistant pines to plant these areas in order to save the species. This also related to questions of what wilderness entails and what role humans play. It was hard seeing these pines knowing that they most likely won't thrive in their native environment, but we also wrestled with the ethics of intervention at the same time. It was a surreal experience to see an endangered species firsthand and motivated everyone in the group to think about our relation to these species and the impact we have. So this is actually a picture from Glacier, but a lot of the white bark pine we saw were either like really young, and it was hard kind of seeing them in the landscape, knowing that they're most likely not going to survive very long. We also learned that the white bark pine is kind of already an extinct species because we know it can't thrive in its native environment with these invasive species attacking it. So it was just a really interesting realization we had in the wild, and it taught us a lot about the impact we have in the relations with the environment. I think we're going to show a video.
So two of the readings we focused on while we were in was arguments of ecology and Holmes Ballston's challenges in environmental ethics. And these really helped to develop a deeper connection with nature and just show a meaningful appreciation. And one of the jobs that we rotated through each day on our trip was called Naturalist in the Day. And in doing that, it was a journal that we would take turns jotting down different species we noticed, weather patterns, like landscape looked like. And that really just helped us to be aware of our surroundings and further time the mix into our everyday lives in the country and just kind of broaden our scope of vision. So then connecting with the outdoors in this way, it led us to form better relationships with each other as well as nature. And by building these bonds with the environment and those around us, we were able to create the loop at the Biomarshall Wilderness, coming out to around 30 miles over the course of 7 days. And this was a really big accomplishment for all of us. And we were the first working group to completely loop since 2019. So that was just a huge thing to cross off our list, and both of our instructors first times with their groups completing the loop as well. So yeah, just something to really hold on to forever.
Video.
Hello, my name is Avery. I was a student on the course, and I got a bit of a back injury towards the end, so I'm home now resting. But I still wanted to share a moment that was really meaningful to me on the course. In Robin Kimmerer's book, Grading Sweetgrass, we read a bit that talked about viewing land as a teacher and talking about the relationship between humans and land as a sort of partnership. And I really felt that when we did our plant study in the meadow in the Bob Marshall, and we spent close to an hour sitting next to a plant of our choosing. And it was such a special moment for me to consider what this plant knows and what it's experienced. And I had no clue like how long this plant has been here in this meadow and what it's seen happen. But it holds so much knowledge. And I think I really understood what Kimber was talking about. And rather than going into the plant study, having read like everything about the plant and some guide beforehand, it was so sweet to give the land a chance to speak and to view it as something that really holds knowledge. So that was a great moment.
Maybe do and touch. You guys have the strength to just maybe do it with them.
I hope you liked this video. I made it look driving down to Missoula. Front country. So this is, our front country experiences vary significantly from all of our backcountry life. We're in backcountry, we're cleaning our own water. We're taking these like crazy bear calls on our hikes every like 1 or 2 minutes. In a community, we have like 14 people for like a week straight. And we now have the opportunity to take that backcountry experience and knowledge and integrate it into our society and back into the front country. We saw the land a lot differently as well after coming back into the front country. Our relationship with the land changed from one of like resource use to one of reciprocation. Our readings and discussions played a significant role in shaping our views on land, its usage, and what the term natural and wild actually means. So the city of Shona became quite the home base for us while in front country, providing us with grocery stocks, laundry machines, and gas station pizzas for good sustenance. More importantly, in the city park, we met with Ann Carlson from the Wilderness Society, who taught us what it meant to have the voice of every community member recognized through decision making. She mentioned perspectives from indigenous people all the way to local genomic groups. This connection gave us insights on the relations between humans and the places they call home. And how it translates to land management. She said that conservation is about the people and how to connect the people with the resources so that they can best manage them. We then got an amazing opportunity to spend a few days in Glacier National Park. And we began our first day in Glacier by driving into the eastern part of the park, stopped at Many Glacier Lodge for one of the best continental buffet breakfasts we have ever had. Rehydrated oatmeal. At the lodge, we also had the chance to walk through a gallery of very sobering images showing the drastic changes in glacier in the early 1900s. And through one of our readings, we actually learned about 8 glaciers in the park are no longer scientifically considered glaciers anymore as a result of increased melting from human-induced climate change. Now that was really sad, but we had an amazing day hiking through the park with
Ranger Dave Benson, who has been working at Glacier National Park for the last 29 years. It was just a great well of knowledge, and we had so many great questions. But the main things that we focused on our hike up to the Grinnell Glacier was a little focus on birding. We learned about the French-tailed woodpecker, and also white-tailed ptarmigan, which he's been doing research work on for, I can't remember what he said, probably the last decade. He taught us a lot about the geology of the park and how the glaciers impact the color of the lakes. So it's hard to see it hold up here, but the aqua color is because of the silt that is suspended in the lake from the glaciers, which I thought was super cool. We got to see a lot of wildlife during our hike. We saw a moose, 7 Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, a mountain goat from really far away, and of course, a black bear. And it was just really powerful to see how much the glaciers have decreased out there. It was really nice to see them in person, but being faced with the realization that they're probably going to be functionally extinct in 2030, which was just a lot to take in at once.
Yeah, and to add on to the glaciers, Ranger Dave at the top of this glacier, this photo up there in the top left corner. If you can see, there's kind of a ridge, kind of midway in between like the end of the mountains and then the bushes. And that is actually where the glacier used to extend. So if you could imagine like thousands of feet of ice just extending over, there was no lake initially when this glacier was formed, a little ice age in like 1850s. And so it was really cool to have Ranger Dave point out those geologic details to show like the natural history of it. And then, oh, here's a better photo of the Alpine Lake, ground squirrel. And then the following day, we explored the St. Mary Visitor Center with a close analytical lens on how they depicted local indigenous groups. We found that although all 4 tribes, which were the Blackfeet, Salish, Kootenai, and Pend-Oreille, were represented in the visitor center, they were represented in a very curated way that painted the national park in the best way possible, instead of valuing the truth from the indigenous groups. There was little to no mention about the harsh history of overturning the land and displacement of the tribes, which seemed to contradict the center's mission of telling the true history of the land. This visit coincided with one of our course readings on if we should return the national parks to indigenous tribes across the country, which provoked many insightful conversations about indigenous ethics, how they relate to the land, how they relate to everyone else who's also involved in the land, and especially referencing back to our time.
Okay, so then going into our next hiking trip is Scapegoat. Going into this trip, we decided that we really wanted to reflect and focus on
the relationships that not only we were making within our group, but with nature. Like, for instance, we touched previously on the idea of deep ecology and focusing on how we, nature and humans alike, are intrinsically connected into that spherical web. So on our first night in the scapegoat, we all decided to lay on the ground and watch the stars, which happened to be the first night of the meteor shower happening over this area. It was also my first time seeing multiple shooting stars. So that was exciting. But laying on the grass with cows around you, with no light pollution, really allowed us to experience something bigger than ourselves. Another thing that the scapegoat recognized for us was the Dearborn River. So in this picture here, you can see this very beautiful waterfall that opens into a lot of like river pools. So we, as a group, we spent a lot of time like de-winding and swimming in these rivers, and it really just gave us a perspective and an opportunity to connect and be with nature in that moment. So as we left Scapegoat and ended on our backpacking adventures, we carried these relations with us and carried a piece of art and created a piece of art to leave with the land we would be so connected with. As we traveled through the Scapegoat, especially with it being our last backpacking trip, it really instilled with us what our individual responsibility is to try and combat climate change. Especially after experiencing both the Bob Marshall Wilderness and Scapegoat Wilderness, it is easy to worry about what is at stake when it does come to climate change. But after going through the course and meeting with guest speakers like Val Herring and Peter McDonough, we recognize these emotions, and instead of accepting fatalism and an apocalyptic future, we recognize how important it is to be engaged and connected.
And we have one more video that made. Bear with me, guys. Wait. Guys. Guys, proud of yourselves.
We just watched that.
And then we wanna open the floor to any questions that anybody might have.
So, here, when I went to St. Mary's, 6 years ago. So, I'm not gonna remember. We spent much time outside compared to really wouldn't be that way. But there were really big gas buried in that were right, like the Hoosier Center was situated right there on the prairie. And then like the mountain popping out of the distance. And our knowledge, we were talking about a fire 2 years ago. Many years ago.
There's some crazy things like one thing I noticed is that there's a lot of learning and growing, so a lot of recovery, a lot of, I think, up to 40 tall trees, and they're very young at the moment, but that was kind of what we saw. Almost, I believe it's almost up to 40 years before we're looking at trees and forests growing in some areas, which takes a long time, but it shows the impacts of this fires and like human impacts on land. So yeah, that's kind of what we've seen in St. Mary's.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious, you talked about feeling like you need to be engaged and it. And I'm curious what that looks like. So, what do you think of the
The question. The question was, in this world of climate change, what do we do with that? What have we learned? What to make of this education about environmental ethics and climate change? I think that, and feeling connected with one another. I think that one thing that I expected coming into this course is how to talk about these issues in a non-doom and gloom way. I think that climate change can be a pretty overwhelming topic for a lot of us. It impacts all of our futures, it impacts our kids' futures and our grandkids. I think that one thing that this course offered me and all of us is the language of how to talk about that. Our first guest speaker, Cal Herring, made a really big emphasis on, focusing on the wins in climate change. While they may be small and they, it takes a lot of little wins to make something huge happen in climate change. I think that those are what motivate us. I think having community to talk about this with and having the language to, maybe stray away from buzzwords like climate change and proactive action and all of that sort of thing. Like, what can we do on an individual level that really influences collective action and grassroots organizing? We talked a lot about that and how impactful local political action and community gardens can be in instilling these values of our connection with nature and then using those connections with nature to connect with our communities. I think that having a positive spin and, knowing that we are all in this together is a really positive thing that I have taken out of this course and, how we can have collective action moving forward. Back on the question?
Yeah, what questions are you all taking out?
The question was, what questions are we taking out of the course moving forward?
Yeah, so I came into this course, I'm a ecology and evolutionary biology major. And so most of my work in classes has been very like finely focused on the details of the ecosystem. And so I'm coming out of this as how can I incorporate looking at the broader picture of climate change into my studies? And how can I apply what I'm learning in my classes to like help provide data and other resources to solve, like not solve, but like work towards solving climate change. And additionally, just questions of how can I get involved. I came into this course really kind of terrified to talk about climate change. It was a very common rhetoric among us in the class. It's very common for everyone here. It's a scary thing to think about, and that sometimes that fear can be debilitating. And I think this class has really broken down that wall for me. And so I'm really coming out of this seeing what can I do to get involved? Are there any like petitions I can get out, or what have our professors talked about? Like a bill that you brought up through college with them, like it's a group, it's just a small group, and how small groups can really make big changes. And so, yeah, that's what this course is really inspiring me. If anyone else wants to say? No.
Yeah, so climate change isn't just an environmental issue, that's a social issue. That's something we really learned. Our conversation, justice, it's indigenous ethics, it's all of these different types of looking at land and human duality. And I think the one thing that people can be considering questioning when I think this course is how can I communicate this to people who don't accept climate change or talk about climate change for their lives? How can I bring this up in a way that isn't going to stress them out and make them want to like deny I think it's a real thing, or maybe feel like it's, you know, fatalist, that is, this is the end of the world conversation. How can we introduce people into the issues that we're actually dealing with in real life? All of the global communities in a way that is accepting of different people.
One more question from Zoom.
Yeah, there's one question on Zoom from Beth Oppenheimer. With regards to white bark pine, what was the opinion of the group relative to intervention versus non-intervention in wilderness?
Big topic, it's getting like 3-hour conversation. To repeat the question, with regards to white bark pine, which is a becoming extinct species, functionally extinct, what are our thoughts on intervention or letting nature take its course? Does anyone want to try answering that?
So we actually had a 3-hour debate about this. Yeah, we had an entire class dedicated to the white bark pine, and so we are still not completely sure. There were really great arguments from both sides. It was a very heated debate. But I think a large portion of us believe in intervention because we created the issues that are plaguing white bark pines. The bark cure, we need to survive us. Are spending into areas they shouldn't be in because of climate change. And so it's, as one of our fathers said, there is we are in blood on our hands. And so if we leave now, then it would be our fault if this species goes extinct. But, you know, even if that's where some of us lean, there's no consensus. It's a really hard issue because a lot of people believe that that's, you know, us playing God. If we move white bark pines into northern latitudes. So that's a big question, and we had a debate on it. And we, Christian, one of our professors, decided that the intervention team won the debate, but still doesn't but that still doesn't mean that the other side doesn't agree with argument, that we all are all believe one side or the other. So sorry, that was a good answer.
As someone who is on the non-intervention side, I don't personally believe that, but they did have a full argument supporting why we should intervene. But great question, Mom.
That's a great spot to end. If you want to hear anything more about White Bark, sounds like our environmental ethics crew is more than willing to carry on that debate. Can we just have a round of applause? Very briefly, names at the beginning. So we're gonna do names at the end so that you all can remember one student's name to ask a very specific question about science or ethics. So I'm gonna start right here.
My name is Noah. You say you're from? Oh, yeah. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I go to University of Vermont. My name is Sarah, I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, and I go to Madison. My name is Maddie. I'm from Boise, Idaho, and I go to school at George Washington University in Washington, DC. I'm also Ellen. My name is Marshall Sunson, and I'm going to go to Madison. I'm also everyone. I'm from Alexander.
My name is Ryan, I'm from Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, and I'm also going to be.
I'm Caroline. I'm from Albany, New York. I'm going to break up the views of UMass and.
I go to SUNY Albany. I'm Rena. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and I go to school at UC Santa Cruz, California. And then Avery, I'm gonna mention her. Avery was in the video who went to leave early. She's from Dallas, Texas, so she goes to UC Santa Barbara. So we had our little conference together.
I'm Kelly, I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I go to University of Vermont.
And I also go to University of and I want to be
Awesome. We could go one more time. Thank you all for your members. Also, it's right up to Christian. Okay, we're gonna take a 10-minute break. Use the restroom, maybe your friend, get on something silent auction. We're gonna dim the lights off and on, and that's gonna be your signal to come back to the presentation for restoration ecology. Just as a challenge, Joe and I are the only two people sitting in the front 2 rows. So maybe in the second round, we move forward. All right, thanks for
Okay, I'm going to use, we'll be back in time for restoration ecology. Thanks for stopping.